Wonderful. Well, thanks for coming out today, and I'll try to make it fun. So I'm Ivan Sheldon. I am from Rand McNally. Been with Rand McNally for about a year. I've been in mapping since 2004. So mapping for car navigation, truck navigation, telematics. And so for me, being at Rand is more than a job. It's really a mission. I'm really passionate about it. I really love it. And part of the reason I love it is learning about how we can be more helpful to you. So, at the end, or come over to the booth, please come over and tell us what works well, what you'd like to be improved, what cool feature you can imagine, that sort of thing. So today I'm just going to talk about navigation a little. Feel free to ask questions along the way. I know that history is usually not very interesting, but I'm going to try to give you a fun history very, very quickly. So specifically, I'm going to talk about past, and then I'm going to combine present and future together. And one thing I did not do is put together a whole ad explaining what Rand McNally does, but I will say kind of what makes us unique is we've got a whole bunch of competitors that just sell directly to drivers, pro drivers, and then we've got competitors that sell to fleets. And we really work with both. And so what often happens is a professional driver will buy one of our devices in Loves or TA or Pilot, and then they'll bring it to their fleet and they'll say, hey, this navigation has more truck information, and then sometimes the fleet will get it as well. So we do navigation, ELDs, standard dash cams, connected dash cams, and a whole bunch of other stuff. We're going to be launching a lot of new stuff this year. Oh, and the headsets. Our headsets are we hope you'll find them great. Anybody here have a headset? You okay? How is it? Oh, no. Okay. So 115 years of US road navigation in 5 minutes. So back in 1905, you would get written directions if you went and bought a book, and it would say, head 50 feet down the good gravel road, pass two pretty good roads, and then turn left onto the bad gravel road. And then when the asphalt begins, turn right around the school and left beyond the blacksmith. So that's still what we provide you today. I hope you like it. We tell you to go on the gravel. No. So, one of the quotes I saw from that period is the poor person in the passenger seat would have his or her nose in the book all day long, and you'd always give the direction right when it was too late. So then, I know this is a weird term here, honeymoon game changer, but let me explain. So either Mr. Rand or Mr. McNally, not sure which one, when he was a fairly young person, went on a honeymoon, went from Chicago to a town in Wisconsin called Lake Geneva. And this is a different version that I'll tell you about in a second. But basically, there weren't roads, as I just mentioned. They would just tell you turn left. There weren't road signs. There often weren't names. And so what he did is he got out along the way and he took photos. And then later when he got back, he would draw arrows on the photos to say which way to go and words and that kind of thing. So this is the old approach I talked to you about. And then this was the new approach that he came up with after that honeymoon drive. And like many map geeks, I'm sure his new wife was not happy that they got out like 150 times as they drove to pretty close to a place nearby in Wisconsin. So they would draw this arrow, and eventually they even started to basically put advertising. In this example, they say, go to the Goshen, Indiana Automobile Company garage, the best in Goshen for supplies and repairs. And the hotel is the best hotel in Goshen. I believe it was also the only one. So So then there was a competition at Rand, and you could win $100, which is about $2,500, I think, in modern day money, or that's what it's worth today. And they said, whoever comes up with the best idea to make directions easier to follow will win $100. And so one of the freelancers, he actually had an idea, how about if we number the roads, the major roads especially. At that point, they didn't have state numbers. Major roads didn't have they didn't have numbers. And so kind of the good news is it was very successful. The bad news is anybody could create a number. So if you were driving from Indiana to a neighboring state, it would be, let's say, 55. The moment you went over, it would be a totally different number. And then there were competing companies all putting numbers up. So pretty soon, you had this kind of situation. And it became a pretty big issue. But this was a good, maybe a good 7 years or something until the federal government said, maybe we should make a national system. I forgot to mention the guy who won that competition, they were like, that's a great idea. Now go out and put them up on poles. And so he did that too. So then in 1924, we made our first road atlas. And then we made the household goods for movers. I'll go quickly. And then this is where another mapping firm got involved. This is a firm I used to work for. At one point, it was called Navtech. At another point, it was called Here. And the founders in 1985 said, wouldn't it be cool at a gas station if you can go in and put a quarter in and you get printed directions? And so they poured all their savings into making this kiosk. And then they were like, oh, the maps don't work. The maps aren't very good. So from that time until, I think, about 2004, the company lost money. I think nearly $800 million or something over that. Started out some people in a garage, eventually big investors who were very patient. And then the vision came true when Hertz began to have their own kiosk. And then I don't think it ever made it to the gas station, though, for 25 cents. 14 years. So then 2009, we launched our first truck navigation device. Now let's move on. Any questions about the past before I move on to the present and the future? So I'll keep going, and I'll come back to that. So at this mapping firm I worked for, we were focused mostly on car navigation. And so it was interesting because you would work with a car company maybe 7 years before that product was going to be released. And so for years, heads-up displays did not work very well. That's where the important information is projected up on your windshield. Anyone have a heads-up here? You do? On what? Okay, Buick. How is it? Okay, so a Buick telling you miles per hour and the radio, and but no heavy vehicles, right? I haven't seen them launch in heavy vehicles yet. Cool. So GM bought the rights from an airplane company and put it in their Corvettes. So this is an example that is just coming out now. It's a Volkswagen, and it will tell you, like, that red line is there to let you know you're approaching too quickly. This is a European thing, so it's showing you a speed limit in kilometers. And then it will tell you to turn left there on the screen so you don't have to look away. This is a new Mercedes. I think it's their highest end vehicle. And this puts all kinds of information over the dashboard. But they've been studying human user interfaces to figure out how to make it easy to use and non-distracting for maybe 20-something years imagining this. And then this is a new system. It's not on the market yet, but this one also identifies bikes. So big warning if you're too close to a bike. We're looking at technology right now for our future dash cams that can identify an animal far, far, far off in the distance where you can't see it, but this can see the animal and alert you. So if there's going to be a deer, I know for a lot of your vehicles, you can't stop in time anyway, but bicycle, pedestrians, it's working either in the market or it's working in labs right now and working really well. So I talked about how augmented reality heads-up displays are still really very small portion of vehicles have them. But it's going to go up significantly. It's still going to stay pretty niche. This is only 1.2 million units or vehicles that are going to have it by 2026. So it's going to be very niche. A lot of people have tried it with aftermarket devices, like essentially you put your phone on the dashboard and it projects information up like navigation information, but it hasn't worked very well. So that's something we're really interested in, but we haven't figured out how to make a heads-up display that would be aftermarket and be really good. So this is, I believe, the largest or one of the largest displays at this point. It's only for the super high-end Mercedes, which I think costs more than my house. And basically, the whole thing is glass. It's made of 3 screens, so a 12.3, a 12.3, and a 17.7-inch screen. It curves. It's got bending glass. So you'd think that would be amazing, right? But here's my argument when we actually, oh, what just happened? My argument is that knobs are really nice. So we jumped ahead quite a bit, but let me go back. Yeah, so how many people like to actually be able to use something without looking at it, right? Do you like your volume to be a knob or do you want it to be a screen, right? So we still put physical controls on the top of our navigation devices. So this is both the present and the future. So dynamic content. At this point, we've got really good traffic data, and it keeps getting better. And so I just thought I'd show some of the incidents that we provide. And this is just going to keep getting better and better. But we have all these different types of incidents. This is actually separate from weather, although it does have some weather incidents. So things like traffic standstill, closure, police, accident, entrance blocked, falling rocks, tornado. So these are some examples where we've got down near the LAX, we've got a road closed, and then up near Lawndale and Torrance, we've got car accidents. You also can toggle a setting where you, of course, see the red, green, yellow on the roads. Real-time traffic, yes. And that, by the way, I'm not here to make a big advertisement, but the traffic is free. You don't sign up for any subscription. The weather is free, and the gas prices are free. And the gas prices, people didn't care as much about, a few years ago, but right now, we've been really surprised when we've been looking at the difference in gas prices, and we've been seeing that, like in some metro areas, you can pay $1 less per diesel. Per gallon of diesel if you compare the least expensive to the most expensive. Kind of amazing. I was just mentioning here that one of the biggest challenges we've had over the years, especially during the pandemic, is keeping restaurant data updated. Restaurants and other types of points of interest that are not purely for truck drivers and other kinds of professional transportation folks. So we've really gone out of our way to source great data from people like Yelp, who are always updating the hours of service. They're always updating contact info, that sort of thing. So another big thing we've been focusing on is weather. Oh man, did it again, sorry. So Oh, sorry, I didn't see it. There's a spotlight here. Sorry. Yeah. Thank you. Such a good question. So the question was, all this stuff, do you need Wi-Fi? And so there are two answers to that. All the map data is resident on the device. You don't ever need to connect unless you want to, just to get navigation out of the box. But if you want the dynamic content, like weather, traffic, and gas prices, then you do connect to your cell phone. Yes? What? Okay. Okay, well, please come over. Anybody with any technical issues, please come over to our booth. When you look over that way after the thing, you'll see a giant RAND banner at the top, or you can just keep walking that way. And we've got a whole bunch of tech support people helping. So, yeah. Sure. Yeah, so all the map data is resident on the device. It's a lot of data. It makes it so that you don't ever need to connect if you don't want to connect. And then if you want the dynamic content, which is weather, traffic, and gas prices, then you need to get data coming in from your cell phone. And one of the complaints we had in the past is because the graphics for weather were so elaborate, they took a lot of data. So we have made it much, much less data. It loads much faster. And then the big thing we heard from a lot of you, a lot of professional drivers, people kept saying, we'd like the county to be listed in navigation. We'd like it to show up on the map all over the place if basically we give users the ability to put the county. And I could not understand why people want a county. And then I found out it's because almost all the breaking weather reports tell you it by county. And I only really know the county I live in, right? If someone asked you, if you don't live here and someone asked you what county are we in now, I'll bet most of us would not know that. So county has been a surprisingly great help to people. I want to tell you a little about map design. Saw this in Japan a long, long time ago and brought it back to the US. So what you're seeing here are we've basically got illustrations of all kinds of complex junctions and intersections and things like that. Anytime there's a complex maneuver, rather, we'll have this zoomed in area, and it was an incredible amount of work by the mapping team. And then we also have these warnings like rollover warning ahead. And so we've really worked on how to not make the interface overwhelming, but just give you the right information at the right time. So another thing that drivers told us is we weren't giving them enough time when we put up that zoomed in picture of a complex maneuver. And so we started it early. And we have a lot of ways we get feedback from professional drivers. On the device, there's something called Tell RAND, where you can click through it and you can provide feedback. We've also got a beta program for people who want to try stuff early and give a lot of details back. And we've got a whole bunch of other options. Our tech support people are always asking, always listening for new ideas. There is a spotlight, so I can't see if anyone's holding up their hands. Any other questions before I keep going? There's not much more. So I just wanted to show you some decisions, some changes we made based on purely on feedback from professional drivers. So on the left side, you're seeing the before. Those two boxes are the before. And on the right side, you're seeing what we did after we got feedback from you. So on the left side, you can see, well, one thing we do no matter what, which is we're doing more frequent map updates. So you can see Elm Road is something that didn't used to be on the map. This was simple, but we put a clock up there. We were told that that's really important. We changed to, I'm on the top right where it says Madison, Fond du Lac with the green box. And we put in more than just Milwaukee, Wisconsin. We would put in Oak Creek. We would put in you can toggle through destination or where you're starting or county. You've got a whole bunch of choices. And we were asked, instead of having just the ETA and your current time, which is what we have on the left, we want the ETA and the time at your destination. That's what you really care about, right? So that's why we got 316 over there. On the bottom row, you can see what it used to look like. And what we've heard is in the middle of Arizona, sunny day, you need more contrast. And so on the right, you can see how much we changed the way the contrast and the clarity of the map shows up. And then you can also see that we added minutes. We know time is your most precious commodity. So instead of just having 1 day, 8 hours, we brought it down to the minute. Let's see. So we've also been improving the POI and destination selection a lot. With the world used to Google, of course, we need a single box where you can just put in a word and you don't have to click into a bunch of places. But we still let you do the more traditional search, which we call guided search. So you can click on that and you can find your destination in a whole bunch of ways. You can also, we also asked both directly and also through surveys, what are the most important POI categories to you? And so parking, for instance, that used to be embedded. You'd have to go a bunch of clicks in, and now you can get it right here in that first screen. Oops. So we've also done a lot to update the tolls. We do that frequently, even when they change a lot, like upstate New York made big changes, and it required us to kind of redesign how we work with their data. But we update tolls a lot more frequently than we used to. And then the other thing I wanted to mention are 3D buildings. At one point, we thought it would be cool to just make it all look like a video game. And we had a prototype, and what we found is that was too much. You don't want to be looking at this thing. You want to be able to just have glanceability. You look at it for 2 seconds or less, and you understand where you are. So what happens, I probably should have brought a video, but what happens is you've got major landmarks that do have colors and everything, and then you've got gray building forms that come up and down at strategic times just to help you better orient yourself. So they don't stay up there, they don't block your view, but they come up at the right time and they go down at the right time. So we also, direct feedback we got from pro drivers is that we had made it too complicated, well, kind of two contradictory things, and we've tried to address both of them. So for power users who want to be able to make all kinds of changes and put in all kinds of details for their multi-stop routes, we've given them the ability to go deep in and put in, here are the things I want to avoid, like I want to avoid these roads, and all kinds of other preferences. So if you really want to go deep, you can. On the other hand, if you don't want to spend a lot of time learning this, it's gotten much easier to put in multi-stop routes. And then because we're always updating the toll data, every time you make those changes to the route, you see how the toll is going to change. Yeah, I don't know what the question was, can you put in more than 2 stops? And unfortunately, our head of mapping, who was supposed to be side by side with me, he's sick. But I think he said we can do 12 now. It might be more. So the other thing is, we still tell you what we think is the best route based on, for instance, the weight of your vehicle. I forgot to say early on, you put in the weight of your vehicle, the size of your vehicle, whether you have a load, you don't have a load. And so we tell you what we think the best route is. But in this example, you're only going to save 10 minutes, and it's going to cost you $36.60 more than if you take the bottom route. So that's another thing we heard from you, like, don't give me the best route. You can say that you think it's the best route, but give me a bunch of options and let me pick. Another thing I forgot to mention earlier is we made POIs a lot bigger. That was a thing that, like, an earlier leader at the company wanted to be more like Apple and more like Google, and drivers hated it. We made the POIs really small, and now I should have shown this, but not only do you get much bigger POIs, but you get dynamic pricing data. So you'll see the price come up right over the gas station. So you can either, be very deliberate about navigating to the least expensive gas, or you can, diesel, or you can just see it as you're going, take a little break and look around, scroll around the map. It's really fast. So earlier I mentioned that you can do really useful things related to the size and weight of your vehicle, and of course, whether you've got it loaded or you don't have it loaded. We've got hazmat, we've got a whole bunch of very specific things that we've been told are important, but you can also have fun changing the color, things like that. Earlier, I think I already covered this. So let's see, when I accidentally forwarded quite a bit. Accidentally forwarded. So this is a new product we're very excited about. One of the other things, under the previous ownership, the company used to be owned for about 10 years by people who were really not product people. They were kind of financial engineers, and they just kept taking money out, laying people off. And the new ownership, they're long-term investors. They manage every company they buy like they're going to have it for 25 years. And so we put a lot of money into making this, and a lot of time and a lot of testing into making a really rugged product, because we've heard from people that they expect their device to last for 7 years. And so we will keep updating the map every year at the least. But we also made it so it can, well, I'll show you a very short video in a second instead of telling you about it. It's more fun to watch. Oh, actually, one thing I wanted to show you real quick. So in addition to the getting our map data from the company I used to work for that used to be called Navtech, and here we have an all-American in-house GIS and mapping team, and they spend their entire year checking to see if weight-restricted roads have changed, if truck-prohibited roads have changed, to get bridge height information. They check in with all the state regulatory groups, DOTs. They've got a whole bunch of sources. They call, they check visually. And part of what's really interesting is that a lot of the mapping used to be done manually, and now they're using these vehicles that have really fancy technology like computer vision and artificial intelligence, and it turns out that they're not as smart as people yet. I mean, they do a very good job, but just to give you an example, there are a lot of places where it tells you that your clearance when you get off an exit is going to be low, but they're not talking about the major expressway you're on. It's just a sign letting you know, like, to be careful of that exit. And there are lots of other examples like that. The computer vision, artificial intelligence, these vehicles, they capture those sometimes as this major expressway is unusable by your truck. So if you're just using that base data, you might be routed off a major road. Some of the biggest in the country we've seen this happen with. So we're really proud of that team. So this is our new tablet, and let's see, these slides, I was going to skip straight to the video. It's 10 inches. It's got this guard. We gave our engineers a really tough drop test requirement, and it's done well. We also heard you when you said you wanted USB-C instead of USB mini or micro. We also understand that during your hours, your break when you can't drive, it would be nice. A lot of you are starting to have flat screen TVs in your trucks. And so we've got an HDMI out. So if you want to watch something on that, like download the Amazon store and watch something on that, you don't just watch it on that if you want it on the big screen. It's also got a magnetic mount connector. So you just pull it off when you need to take it with you, if you don't want to leave it in the vehicle when you go, or if you're giving a team driver, that kind of thing. We also heard you loud and clear about mounts. Our mounts, you know, no matter how good the suction cup kind is, at some point it loses some of its stickiness. And so we've added a screw down mount, and actually a screw down also has 3M adhesive on the bottom. And in case you have a RAM mount or some kind of third-party mount, we also have the ball and socket where you just snap it right in. Yeah, so the question was, does one of them screw into the dash? So number one screws into anywhere you want it to. But the idea is the dash is what most people like. Yeah, so it depends on your vehicle. The question is, do you have to pre-drill? And so when I wrote the instructions, I looked at what everybody else does, and basically they say pilot are optional, and it really depends on your vehicle. So, yeah, so the question is, do the 3 mounts just come with the big one, or also for the other devices like the 700 series? It is just our new big one. Well, yeah, but I mean, the feedback we're getting is this is really helpful. So over time, I'd like to put it in all our devices. So we have a camera, not as a dash cam, but just in case you want to do your DVIRs. As I mentioned earlier, we're kind of unique because we sell directly, and that's in some ways the part of the business many of us are most passionate about when we sell directly to our pro drivers. And that's what you see when you get this out of the box. You see navigation on, that's number one. But if you want to run an ELD, that's also built in here. And so that's what I was saying earlier, that a lot of times people start by buying this device, and then they decide, maybe you go from 1 truck to 5, and you decide to roll these out to your other drivers, and you run the ELD/hours of service and fleet management platform. And we're different than some of the competitors. We don't like charge extra for IFTA and things like that. So I think this is a video if all goes well. Let's see. Is that a video? Oh, yeah.
Professional drivers need professional-grade tools. That's why the TND Tablet 1050 was built with pro drivers for pro drivers. The 1050 is packed with superior maps. In fact, there's 33% more truck-specific road data than other GPS providers, so routing is more efficient and accurate. Bye-bye wrong roads and low bridges and underpasses. The large 10-inch screen is made of tough, professional-grade Gorilla Glass. Perfect for viewing high-definition maps. And because accidents happen, the 1050 comes with a heavy-duty tablet guard. Don't need it? No problem. It's removable. The TND Tablet 1050 comes with 3 professional-grade mounts because one size doesn't fit all. Built from the ground up for truckers, the 1050 also includes an onboard camera and enhanced trucker tools. Rand McNally TND Tablet 1050. Trucker tested, trucker approved.
And we've got one more short video.
Trucking has all sorts of hazards. And when your tools aren't working, you're not working. That's why Rand McNally built the TND Tablet 1050 with a heavy-duty removable guard to protect against everyday hazards. In a head-to-head drop test, Rand McNally's TND Tablet 1050 bounced back after its drop. All good. The Garmin device didn't do so well. Rand McNally TND Tablet 1050, built for truckers.
So I hope that looks good to you. A quick funny story. So the guy dropping the tablets, he's one of our newest product managers. And when I was introducing him, I said, I knew he grew up on a farm, and his dad in the winter would drive professionally, has CDL. And so when I was introducing him to the company, I said, he's even got, he understands culture and the profession and that kind of thing, because he's got a pro driver in his family. And he was like, actually, I'm the only one without a commercial driver's license. Even my mom has one, my mom and my two brothers. So we had him do the drop test. But anyway, so we're excited about the product, and we're most excited about bringing a different level of quality than the company has had in the past. I'd say if there's one thing you take away, it's really, we don't need that, thanks. It's really, we're actually all done with the presentation. Don't need the presentation. But we're really most excited about quality. We're most excited about building products that we hope you'll like and getting feedback directly from you. And like I said, we do that in a lot of ways. Please use the Tell-RAN feature if you're on a navigation device. Most of all, please come over to our booth. If you've got an old device, we'll try to help you with it. We're doing map updates for any the devices over there. And we're also demoing everything, so we'd love to show you. We're also giving away free atlases multiple times a day. I cannot remember the last time today. I think it might be 3, but I'm not 100% sure. So any more questions? Thank you. Thanks very much.